say that all day.
Okay, welcome everybody. Looks like we have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll give you a few seconds to join us. We have no closed session items this afternoon, so we're going to move ahead with our regular open session. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Baca, would you mind leading us in that, please, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Before we get started, some of you know, we had an unfortunate passing of a longtime friend and partner, John Magnus, with Alliance California, and we just wanted to say a couple of things and maybe have a moment of silence here before we get started with the regular meeting. And Supervisor Baca, would you mind? I know you were very close with Mr. Magnus.
Yeah, you know, it's a very, very tragic loss to a good friend, to our community. And, you know, I had a personal relationship with John Magnus. We probably go back, 15 plus years, actually almost 20 years when I was in the state legislature. He'd come visit. But then as a councilman in the city of Rialto, he worked closely with our team and our staff to, transform the city of Rialto to what it is today by closing the airport. We know he's had a lot of things to do here at this airport, but as a matter of fact, me and John had lunch a few months ago, and then we were just texting just a couple weeks ago, and just very, very unfortunate. You go back a couple weeks and you just imagine this would never happen to him. But John was a good friend. I know he was a loving father. We talked a lot about his kids. He loved baseball. He loved outdoors, and just, our heart goes out, and many blessings and prayers to the entire Magnus family. So our community will be at a loss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Maybe let's just take a moment of silence, 30 seconds or so. Okay, thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to item number 1, which is our conflict of interest disclosure item. If we have any conflicts that come up, we will address those as they do. Next, we have our informational items. I'll move to our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Burrows.
So the first one's the best. We get to say welcome back to some of you, and welcome again. I get the easy job out of the way first, but it's great to have our new members and our new old alternates around the way. And just do know that it is our custom and practice to set up new member orientations. So even if you've been in and around the IVDA or the airport in various capacities, we'd love you to spare a few minutes just to give you updates and those types of things. So we'll be reaching out to you and your teams to get that on calendar, and we really appreciate your time and your leadership. So thank you for being here with us.
Yes, thank you. This is really exciting. We have almost a completely new board here. So this is going to be a lot of fun and very interesting moving forward. So thank you. We're working through some technical difficulties.
So if it pleases the board, I can just keep yapping through a couple of these while we're getting sorted. One other just short update on our specific plan, which is ongoing. It's still out for review. Ms. Beltran and the team have been working this week to extend the timeline for comments and feedback on that. Also gives us time with our new team up here to let you ask more questions about it too. So Miriam will be getting that out here momentarily, and it's certainly more time is great, and we're happy to do it. So appreciate your patience on that.
With that extension, do you know what we were really talking about in terms of time?
It'll definitely go into mid-March at this point. They're still calculating the days on it, but that'll get published here, any day now, just to give people a little bit of relief and then give us more time to work the work. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to D. Ms. Pritchett.
Good afternoon. For some history, annually the IVDA staff reviews and prepares updates to our policies and procedures and then reports these updates out to our IVDA board. This year, a number of the updates that we have were more procedural, more so than policy related. So rather than going through an extensive red line, we do have a PowerPoint with 10 or 11 of the more significant procedural changes that we made. In respect of everyone's time, though, I'm only going to touch on about 5 or 6. However, I'm happy to answer any questions on anything that I don't present. First on our list is bereavement. The state of California did increase bereavement days, or the employee's availability to use sick leave, from 3 to 5 days to mourn the loss of a designated individual, which we will touch upon. In addition, the state passed SB 1162, which requires us to now post entire pay ranges, which we've historically done, but it is memorialized in our policies now for all job openings. SB 1044 prevents us from taking adverse action if an employee refuses to report or leave the worksite due to a perceived unsafe condition following an emergency. We are still trying to figure out what exactly that means, but we do plan on complying once we understand that a little more thoroughly. IT policy. Our IT policies have not changed. However, the procedures in place for them have been adjusted. Traditionally, our very talented clerk of the board team have managed our IT policies. We have now created a separate IT department. So the procedures for managing our IT requests in-house have been modified. In addition, we're reviewing our per diem travel policies. Travel, now that COVID is over, we have more training opportunities and more conference opportunities, so it's time to update those procedures. And a clarification for staff in our policies and additional procedures that although the state of California grants the use of marijuana, the feds still say it is a no-no, and being that we are an airport, we do adhere to all federal requirements related to marijuana use. So with that, again, there's a lot of other procedural updates. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? John, welcome. Good to see you. Okay, moving along to our ROPS. Mr. Kuzma.
Thank you. I'll give you an update. In May, a little history first, but May of 2014, the successor agency to IVDA issued almost $240 million worth of bonds, split between federally taxable and non-taxable amounts. With that, the debt service has been made continuously since then, and we made our most recent payment on September 1st, 2022, and our upcoming debt service is March 1st, 2023. And with that most recent debt service, we paid almost $8.32 million in debt service, combination of principal and interest. On January 12th, we went before the Countywide Oversight Board to have our annual ROPS approved, which was approved, and we had administrative costs approved of, let's see here, $422,220, as well as our debt service for 23-24 for $16,646,000. That concludes my report.
Thank you, sir.
If it so pleases the board, I can go ahead and call roll. Sorry, I was running around earlier.
Oh, for our initial roll call, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Please state your names for the record. Members from the city of Loma Linda.
Phil Duper.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Member from the county of San Bernardino, 5th District.
Supervisor Baca present.
Thank you. And members from the city of San Bernardino.
Mayor Helen Tran. Councilmember Ibarra.
Juan Figueroa.
Thank you. And the members from the city of Colton.
Councilmember John Echeverria.
Thank you very much. We have a full quorum.
Thank you very much. We are now at the board consent items. Unless somebody requests we pull one, I would entertain a motion to move the consent calendar.
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve consent calendar, but also register an abstention on item 6, the minutes.
Okay, we have a first
I'll second him.
and a second. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Baca and a second by Member Ibarra. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Baca, aye with abstention on 6.
Thank you. Member Tran, excuse me.
Yes, with also abstention on, on number 6 as well.
Thank you. Member Ibarra
Yes.
and Member Figueroa.
Yes.
Thank you. The items pass.
Thank you very much. Moving on to board action items, starting with number 7, and this was something we started at our last meeting. Mr. Burrows.
So we've been working per your direction on what I'll call a simple amendment, because he wrote it, and we'll defer the rest of the discussion to Mr. Lewin.
Okay, thank you. With some of the new board members, let me do a little bit of background for you on this matter. So our joint powers agreement, the way it's structured, has the officer positions as being co-chairs. We have actually the 2 chairs, a vice chair on it. Those are 3 officers as they exist today. Over the years, we've had a lot of comments on that. It seems like every few years we will have one or other board members saying, why do we have this co-chair position? It's so unique, and it is very unique. Special districts typically have either a chair, vice chair, or president, vice president type of structure. And the discussion would always have, okay, it was set up this way and for kind of historical reasons. In terms of why we've never changed it in the past, it requires an amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement, which would have to be approved by all of your jurisdictions in order to make that change. So just, in the last month or so, staff received some real direction to prepare a simple amendment to see what that would look like and at least have a real discussion about moving forward with that change. So what you have in your packet there would be an amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement. It changes the officers section. I've kind of done it in whole rather than piecemeal, so you can read the whole thing at once if you desire. And it sets us up in the far more traditional position of having a chair and a vice chair, and then a secretary would be the 3 officers on it. The other discussion that has taken place and came up with was the timing when we do the officer elections. It's a biennial election, as it states in the Joint Powers Agreement. It's done in the first regular meeting of the board, which would of course be July in even-numbered years. As many of you are quite aware, just recently, we have elections in even-numbered years in November. And it has, just like it did this year, maybe more pronounced this year, results in having some of the composition of our board change as a result of that election. So a common question was addressed, as long as we are looking at potentially amending our Joint Powers Agreement, perhaps we should look at changing that annual election or biennial election of officers to January, which would be after the regular November election that occurs, so we don't have what's occurred this year and has occurred in prior years where we elect officers in September, and then by November or December they're leaving the board on it. So that's the summary of what's sitting in front of you. It's a technical amendment, as Mike would like to say. We're not changing any of the overall powers or authority of board members. We'll just kind of restructuring it so we don't have 2 co-chairs, and we also have a secretary. The Joint Powers Agreement currently provides for a secretary, but it's an appointed position rather than an elected position by the board on it, and typically is handled by one of the staff members on it. So by making it with a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary, we're following what would be the more common, typical type of officer structure. And the issue of whether you want to have elections in the first meeting of even-numbered years in July, or move it, as it's stated now, to the first meeting in an odd-numbered year, which would be January, it's kind of the discretion of the board what you would like to discuss among yourselves and maybe take back to your respective jurisdictions, because that's how the amendment would have to be passed. It would have to be at your jurisdictions.
So to give a little further background. I suggest maybe you could move up to the front row.
Translation in Spanish as well.
Okay. So looks like we're trying to adjust the volume a little bit here. So the discussion came up that we are uniquely different from the airport authority. However, the airport authority is structured with that set of offices. So the question is sometimes it becomes confusing when we look at the authority of the IVDA and how that matches the airport. And I think some of the discussion was that we thought it might be better to more closely align with the airport board. Then as we looked at what happened this last year was exactly that. We appointed new officers the first of the fiscal year, and then several folks didn't make it back after the November election. And then even after the November election, we elected officers, and here we still have a whole new different board based on some other stuff. So the question is, should we wait until January after that November election to then structure for the 2-year board cycle? So open for discussion to the newer board that we have here and see what you folks think.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I would be in support of it. It would only make sense just logically. I guess my question is, if we adopt this today, this goes back to our respective agencies, right? And then it comes back to us, then we elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, and but we'd have to wait till the amendment is gone through all entities approved by majority vote.
With one clarification that we currently have 2 vacant officer positions. We have a chair, one of our co-chair members who is still here fortunately with us, so we would be electing the vice chair and the secretary position. Okay. We would be filling what are now vacant offices.
So fill the vacant offices and then come back and then re-elect if this passes a chair and vice chair, right?
Correct. What, you know, if we move forward with this, it would be at the board's discretion, you know, because it may take some time for this to work its way through your respective agencies. You have to get it on each of your agendas. It has to pass by all of your agencies on it. We would still be sitting in the position of having a co-chair type position and a vice chair. We have one chair, co-chair right now on it. I would suggest if your board elects to move forward to what we might do at our next meeting is say, let's fill the vacant vice chair position, perhaps not fill the co-chair position, because if it passes, we would then have that office no longer part of our officer positions.
Sure. I would be in favor of moving this forward. It just will be in line with all of our other agencies that are very similar throughout the county. It just seems to make sense, but I'm in full support of it. It's no financial impact, so we just got to go back, and if it passes today, go back to our respective agencies and come back. I'd be in support of it.
I'll second.
And so what I'm hearing is that at the next IVDA meeting, that we will appoint the vice chair, right? And then present it to our respective agencies for adoption.
The actual elected office, the name of the individual, the actual, that's not in the amendment. It's just cleaning up the titles. That's what would be before your council when you get it over on your side.
Understood, but do we need to elect the vice chair first before we present it to our agencies?
So I'll have Mr. Lewin go to the background of that, because there comes from another resolution related to elections, which basically says when you have a vacancy at the next agenda, you agendize an election. And
Okay, so this is
as long as it's
separate.
agendized, you can do it, you can defer it. It just needs to be, followed through on the resolution procedure. That's all.
Okay, to maybe clarify your question, because we do have a lot of new board members here today. So what we have is the officer positions are set forth in our joint powers agreement. That's what those officer positions, what would go to your respective agencies to approve an amendment that would change it to have the chair, vice chair, secretary position. With respect to electing individuals to those officers, we have a board policy on it that kind of covers how that takes place. And that policy indicates that when there is a vacant officer position at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the agency, that position is then filled by an election and vote of the members on it. So that's what would be on the agenda here for our next meeting, which would be in March now. And we can decide, get direction perhaps from the board here at that time. We need to have it on there one way or the other. I guess the real discretionary question is, do you want to fill a co-chair position, which would, assuming all of your agencies, approve the amendment, would then be disbanded here in a couple of months, or just leave that co-chair position vacant and fill the vice chair, so we do have those positions.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Just polling the board, what does everybody think as far as timelines to get it through? And then if we were able to get it done by next month, would we be able to move forward next month with the new structure?
Correct. Once we have the amendment approved by all of your agencies, the amendment will be signed. It will be effective immediately upon that approval. You now have a new structure. We can do officer elections then as well.
I would ask maybe the supervisor, I think your agenda is probably more complex than the rest of ours. Is that something you think could make it by next month or no?
Yeah, our meeting's the last Tuesday in February. So if we get it to them immediately, get it to staff, we can get it on our February agenda. Looking for potentially March coming back here. I can't speak for Loma Linda or San Bernardino or Colton, but the county.
When is the next IVDA meeting?
March 8th.
March 8th.
So for San Bernardino, for us, we wouldn't be able to get it on until March 1st. Just so you know, because how we process our agenda, so I don't know is that.
I mean, that is not really a problem. I mean, obviously, if it's going to be passed sooner is better than later, but you all have your agendas that have to be followed and your procedures, and, what will happen is, we'll do an officer election for at least the vice chair in March, and assuming that the amendment passes by all of your respective agencies, we'll do another election there, and when we get ourselves into April.
Okay. I don't see an issue for me. I think this makes sense, and so I concur for it to move forward as well.
So my next question for me is, if we stay with 2 co-chairs and a vice chair, we'll vote for the next meeting to fill those vacancies, correct? If we don't make those changes?
Well, at our next meeting, okay, we need to have an election. We need to at least have an election for the vice chair. Somewhat of a discretionary opinion of the board yourself to say whether you want to elect the second co-chair position while this amendment is circulating around. I would say that it's a board policy to have election to fill offices, positions, which means it's within a reasonable degree subject to your discretion as to how you want to proceed with that.
Yeah. The discussion we had last month was, since it's a policy and not actually set in stone, we'd have some leeway, although we should probably agendize it. We wouldn't actually have to move forward with either or any of those, or we could fill both.
Correct.
I think, speaking for Loma Linda, I'm pretty confident we could get it on our agenda. I think that would be the next question, would be Colton, but I believe Mayor Navarro was supportive of it last time, and that was the direction he thought we should go, so. Do we need a motion from the board at this point? We just take it back?
This is not something that, I'm sorry.
There's already a motion and a second.
There's already a motion on the table.
There's been
I
a
would
motion
say,
in a second.
so just to clarify, I mean, your motion to approve this isn't going to change the amendment. It doesn't make it happen. It happens at your respective agencies. What it does, though, is show the board's full support for this that you can take back to your agency.
Yes.
Makes sense. Okay.
I have some questions or comments. The draft amendment doesn't make it clear that it's January or the first meeting of the calendar year. It just says the first meeting of the year, and that's the language used previously that designated July as the election time. So is it the fiscal year? Is it the calendar year? I think that needs to be specified.
Well,
I don't like-
the way I'm reading right now, it says it's the first regular meeting of the board held in an odd-numbered calendar year.
Yes.
So that would be
But we
January.
assumed that meant July.
Well, that would be a
For the
fiscal
old-
year.
For the old, but you were just saying that the old policy was to have the election in July of an even-numbered year.
The old policy didn't have a month name in it. It was the first regular meeting of the fiscal year.
Okay, did it say fiscal?
Correct.
Okay, so now it should say calendar then to differentiate it.
It says calendar.
It does say calendar year.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure that's clear.
correct, it
Okay.
does.
My next comment is that there's a typo. I don't think we all need to approve the typo. I'll let you know about that.
Okay.
And then the other one, boy, now I feel like the governor of Texas. I can't remember which department I want to get rid of. I'll come to it.
Okay, are we safe to call the roll on it, or?
Yep.
Madam Clerk?
Oh, can we please repeat the motion in the second? I'm sorry, I did not catch them.
I'm sorry, make a motion to approve this item as is.
And was the second member Ibarra?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a motion by member Baca and a second by member Ibarra. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Buckeye.
Member Tran?
Yes.
Member Ibarra?
Yes.
And Member Figueroa?
Yes.
Thank you. It's approved unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 8, our mid-year budget adjustment.
Thank you. This action is to approve an increase in budgetary expenditures of $76,600 that will be funded with ongoing revenues and existing resources. The requested adjustments are comprised of proposed expenditure increases in the property management fund for increases in utility cost and usage, in particular our gas and our water and sewer. The water and sewer is about $62,000 increase. That is coming primarily from increased watering, looking at the water accounts that are along the entryways into the airport properties and everything. So that's where a lot of the increased water usage has come from. The next adjustment is for the UAS Center at SBD to increase the meetings and conferences line item by $12,000. This is an ongoing support of revenue generating activities and existing contracts that will be start coming online or being fulfilled as far as delivery of services in the next 2 quarters. And the final adjustment really is a zero budgetary housekeeping item. We are just doing an intra-fund transfer between accounts to cure a line item deficit in one account with an existing surplus in another related account. And that concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none,
Move approval.
I have a motion.
Good motion to approve item 8.
And a second. Motion by Supervisor Baca, second by Member Ibarra.
Oh,
Yes, correct?
I made a motion.
Oh, you have a motion?
I made the motion to approve.
Okay. I think Supervisor already made one before you, but that's okay.
On this one?
Yes,
Oh,
he was quick. Come on.
jeez, okay. I'll second.
Okay, we have a second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by member Baca and a second by member Ibarra. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Buckeye.
Member Tran?
Yes.
Member Ibarra?
Yes.
And Member Figueroa?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 9, a professional services agreement. Ms. Beltran.
Thank you. Good afternoon. In 2013, Cordoba Corporation provided design and engineering for a larger project that we know as the 3rd and 5th Street improvements. And during that time, they were able to complete design up to 95%. Due to economic constraints and a Tiger grant that fell through, we weren't able to complete the project as we originally intended. Here we are 10 years later, and we have an exciting opportunity to move forward with a segment of that original design. IVDA is expecting a appropriation from Congress's Community project funding for $3 million, and this is going to allow us to support the construction phase. And I do want to apologize, in the staff report I cited $1 million, but the correct amount is $3 million. The proposed project that we want to move forward with is on 3rd Street, and that segment is from Del Rosa and extends to Victoria Avenue. Approval of this item will allow Cordova to complete plan specs and a cost estimate so that we can move forward and line up and get ready to do the bidding process. We plan to come back in possibly early summer to seek authorization to commence the bidding process. Thank you.
Supervisor?
Yeah, I just want to thank Congressman Aguilar for his generosity, really advocating and fighting for this project to get the $3 million. I think it's a great project. Our office gets a lot of comments about these roads, so I think this is a great project, and I'd love to move approval on this item.
Thank you. So we have a first
I'll second.
and another second. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Baca and a second by Member Ibarra. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Duper?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Baca?
Buckeye.
Member Tran?
Yes.
Member Ibarra?
Yes.
And Member Figueroa.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 10, a review of our action plan. Mr. Burrows.
So we'll get the graphic up here for our newer returning members. This 6-month look ahead is a tool that we use to try to stay on track, and also give you all an expectation of some of the items that are coming up on future agendas. So where Mr. Cousineau currently is with the audit team is buttoning that report up. As you may have heard, there's been some new audit procedures related to leasing and leases, which many agencies are, working through the process. And I just want to thank Mark for his diligence with the team in getting past that new hurdle. But it's in the rear view right now, and we hope to have an audit for you as early as next month. You've already heard about the ROPS, so that would conclude my report unless any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Any questions from the board? No, seeing none, that's a receive and file. We are now going to move on to open session public comment, and I have 2 requests that were not specific about any specific items. So we'll start out with Mr. Daniel Jarambi. We do have that. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Daniel Chavanji, and I'm here to express some of my thoughts and feedback on the airport gateway specific plan. Can everyone hear me well? Okay. So I just wanted to list off some thoughts and concerns at a high level and share that with you. Some general questions to think about for the board members, and also just a little summary and action item for you all to think about. So with this airport gateway specific plan, I feel like there's just been a general lack of communication and messaging out to the community members that live within this development zone. Earlier last month, I attended a community meeting which IVDA put on, and it was just to kind of inform the public of what's going on. There's easels and things of that information. But then I heard some chatter of people that attended, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to give the IVDA hell, and I want to protest, I want to give feedback. But it just seemed like people had barely found out about it. Some community members that would be affected said that not all of the neighbors had received notices of what's going on with the development and things of that nature. So I feel like overall, there just hasn't been enough information to the residents that will be affected as to what's going on, when it's happening, and how it will really affect them. Another thing that was mentioned is that the IVDA said that, if you want to stay in the area and you don't want to sell your home, we're not going to force you to. But let's say in the future, that house goes on to someone's descendants. What happens when they want to build an ADU in their backyard? What happens when they want to rebuild their house? What happens when they want to build a fence? will the city of Highland, will the IVDA, will any other organizations stick up for those people and say, hey, okay, that's good? Or will there be a scenario where 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 20 years down the line, a developer says, hey, I want dibs on that land, and then a situation occurs where maybe those permits aren't approved, things like that. Secondarily, I feel like there's just an over-reliance of warehouses in the region. It feels like when we have an empty piece of land, our natural inclination to think of economic development is, let's build a warehouse. I would like to think otherwise. There's other opportunities. Third of all, it feels like this development will have an increase in industrial pollution. With all the trucks coming to and fro in the city, it's going to congregate in this valley. And then lastly, I feel like there's going to be a lot of unsafe hazards with all the big rigs going to and fro. There's going to be truck routes going outside of this development zone, passing by elementary schools, high schools, things of that nature. And it might create some scenarios where even if you put like a bike lane or a large sidewalk, I feel like it doesn't really feel safe when you have large big rigs, rumbling and rattling through the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your comments. Ms. Sarah Fee.
Good afternoon. I work at KSBD, and at that building, we don't receive proper compensation for our work. We don't receive a living wage. Myself, my coworkers, we have fought for this. We've walked out, we've gone on strike. We fought for things like access to drinkable water, heat breaks that are protected by law. And when the power goes out in our building, several generators fire up and pollute the air even more that we breathe at work and that the community breathes. So I would like you to take these factors into consideration moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mauricio Perez.
Good afternoon. My name is Mauricio Perez. I'm an organizer with Local 63 out of Rialto. So I've lived in the Inland Empire my entire life. Grew up in Riverside, as old as this agency's been going. All right. What I've seen at this agency since I've been alive is that nothing has pretty much been developed worthwhile in San Bernardino. I say that with as much respect as I possibly can, but what is it exactly that we can look forward to with this plan? That being said, the only way I think anything positive can come out of this is with the public's engagement in this. The person that spoke to two people before me said that the lack of communication is a problem. And the last thing that we had, Burroughs knows this, we've talked to him about it. I'm sure he's tired of seeing us.
Not at all.
But you really need to do a better job of getting the community involved in this. And as an organizer from the local, we're one of the best outlets that you guys have. Reach out to us. We're here to help. We are in the communities every day. I go to these houses at this area that you guys are thinking about developing, and they don't know what's going on. I have to tell them. And when you put that human aspect to it, you guys would rather avoid that. But I see it, and they got questions that I can't answer. But you can. They just need to be communicated well. So please keep that into consideration, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, moving on to board member comments. Everybody wants to give an intro?
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the IVDA's policy right now on notifying residents? Was it 500, 1,000 square feet?
Great question.
I'm going to defer to Miriam, so I don't want to mess up the distancing on what we've done to date.
Yes, so we are going beyond 1/4 mile from the project area. in notifying residents and businesses.
And that was the first 2 series of mailers, but we've gotten great feedback on other ways to do that, and we really appreciate that.
And are you sending them in both languages, or how many languages, I should ask?
English and Spanish.
English and Spanish.
And my next question is, has the IVDA discussed having bilingual translators by any chance at their meetings? I know the city of San Bernardino did it recently.
It's happened in previous years, but it's been some time, but that's something you want to discuss. We're happy to talk about that. Legal counsel, it's discretion of the board at that point, so, sure.
Captioning, something, so that way the population out here, at least they get to find out what's going on in their neighborhoods and what's coming up the pipeline. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Again, thank you guys. Welcome. This is going to be great. We have a great team here, great representation from all the affected agencies. So we will adjourn, and we'll see you next month.